Hello, welcome everybody. Uh, Thank you for joining yet another video from IT Basics for you. Today we are going to cover up Power Automate, which is one of the components of Power Platform, and be focusing on one of the very generic use case, which is extracting data from web pages and then pushing it down to the output file, which is Excel file. So this is our objective. We'll open up a browser, we'll read the data elements, and then we will write the values to Excel. Yeah, you can definitely start thinking about more such tasks that you do on day-to-day basis. I'll be using the Power Automate link. It's captured out here. It's make.powerautomate.com. All right, guys, we'll get started with the task here. I have logged into my Power Automate account. I created an Outlook account for myself and then subscribed for Power Automate through my mail ID. Once you log into Power Automate, this is the first screen that you get to see, right? There are a lot of options out here. We'll be focusing on a couple of them for today's video. We want to create a new workflow. That's what everybody wants to jump into today. So you look at the option out here which says create. You can click on create and then you can start creating your own workflow, right? Now there are multiple options through which you can create your flow. You can create a flow on the cloud, which can be triggered by an event. You can create a flow which can be triggered manually based on as and when you need. You can also create a cloud flow which you can schedule, and you can specify the time, date, day when you want those flows to execute, and it will execute by itself. And then you will have opportunities of creating desktop flow, which is helping yourself on your system, uh, automating certain tasks that you can use, day-to-day basis. So for today's video, we are going to focus on desktop flow. I'll go and click on desktop flow, uh, and it will give you an option of launching an application or download an application. I have already downloaded the application, so I'll go and click on launch and click on open Power Automate. As I do it, you see there is a screen which pops up which says, hey, you already have one flow created, right? You can see your flow, and if you want to create another flow, then you can create a new flow. If you want to run this flow, then you can just click on run and you can run the flow. So right now we are more focused on creating a new flow. So uh, the flow that I want to create today is more to go extract some data from a site called Bloomberg, um, and I want to read certain values from there. So I'll type my flow name. I'll say get Bloomberg data. And then if you want to preview your flow in a PowerFX mode, then you can select this option. Through this, you can see all the expressions that are typically getting created, pretty much like Excel formulas on your flow as well. Right now, we'll keep it off, but in subsequent videos, we'll go into detail and we'll enable this to see how flow is actually creating those formulas and functions out there. So I'll go and click on create. My flow got created and it says currently editing, and now it will load a page where it will give me a canvas to stitch together my flow, right? Now as it opens it up, on the left hand side you see lot of options. These are typically the commands grouped under different buckets, self-explanatory, which allows you to use the commands from these buckets as part of your process. So as we saw, our process involves opening up a browser, going to a website, reading the data, saving the data into Excel file. So if you start thinking from that perspective, then the first task, which is opening a browser, you can come here, you can see under which bucket it would be, which grouping it would be, right? So you can see browser based automation, and you see web data extraction, web form filling. Right now we'll be focusing on uh, extracting data from the browser. So what we need right now is we need an option through which we can open up a new browser instance, right? For this video we'll be using Chrome. So if I look at here, there is an option which says launch new Chrome, and that's exactly what we need, right? So I'll just drag it, I'll drop it here, and then if we see here, let me do that again. If you see here, we got options, right? What do you want to do, right? So it says either I open up a new instance or I attach this execution to a running instance. If there is a Chrome browser and an application already open, then I can attach it to the running instance also. But right now I'll click on launch new instance, and then I need the URL of that application, that web application, which I want to open. So let me just go to Chrome, and I'll click on my website, which is bloomberg.com. Right, this is the website, and what I want to do today is I want to read this information, which is S&P 500 today, and then the NASDAQ index today, right? I want to read these two values into my Excel application. So for now, let me pick up the URL. Let me close this browser. I'll go to the initial URL. I'll paste the URL address here. I'll keep the window state as maximized so that you can see what's happening. And then the variable, if you look at the variable, it says a variable will be produced, which is browser. This instance will be captured into this variable, which is browser. Okay, you can always go and you can change the name also if you want, but let's keep default for now. And then you just save it, right? So you saved your first task as part of your process, which is launching a new Chrome, right? And it will open up this website as well. Now, once this website is open, then you definitely want to read the data from the website. And guys, typically all web applications will follow DOM object hierarchy, and through that you can try to capture the objects or the data elements on that website, right? So in Power Automate, you will always find references for page extractions with mention of elements, so we can get details of the element on the web page using this particular option, right, which is under web data extraction. Now, prior to doing that, I do want to ensure that my page has completely loaded, right? So there is an option for that, and I'll get you to that option, which is wait for the page content, right? So what I will do is I will drop this out here, right? And I want to say wait for the page to contain element, right? So I want to start my next step before the data is actually loaded, the elements are actually loaded on the browser, right? So what I can do here is, let me just go and let me first run this so that I can have a browser instance open for me, and I can navigate to the data elements that I want to capture, right? So it is performing that task. It opens up a Chrome browser and it opens up this application as well. It's still loading. You see, it's still loading. So what I want to do is, now it's completely loaded. I'll go back to my Power Automate instance. Now I will drop wait for the page element, and I'll say I want to wait for the elements to be available, and I will click on add UI element. When I click on add UI element, you'll get a message box that you can only capture a UI element using control button from your keyboard and the left click button from your mouse. So see what happens, if I go here, I start navigating to this page, you see it starts covering up the different divs on this page, right? These are different divs and its elements of the web page. But what I want to do is, since this is the area which I want to capture, what I will do is I'll just mention to this last element out here like it's loaded, so that I know that the previous content has been loaded, right? So I'll hover on this, I'll press Control and press the left button, and it's completing the action for me. It comes back to the Power Automate and it captures, the element out here, and I'll click on Save. Great. Now we have done the second step, which is we are ensuring my data has been loaded, my elements have been loaded, and now I'm ready to read that data. Now we'll go back to the web data extraction group and we'll drop get details of the element on the web page. Now as we do that, now again we can go back, we can select the UI element, from where we want to read the data. Again, it gives a message how you can read it. Now I'll first select S&P 500, again Control, left click, and it captures that as well. I'll keep the attribute name and own text like what it read from the page. That is the text I need. Now the variable it produced is the attribute value. What I want to do is I want to change this name, and I want to say attribute SP. Okay, and I'll save it. Now I'll drop another one. I'll say get details of element on the page, and I'll say let's select another one, which is add UI element. This time I'll go to the NASDAQ option. And I'll do Control plus left click. And this time it captures the value for NASDAQ as well. Now in this case, I'll change the attribute name. I'll keep the attribute name as NASDAQ. Okay, and then we save it. Great. So this is what we have done till now, and I'm saving it so that my work gets saved. So we have launched the Chrome browser. We have waited for content to be loaded, and we have read two values, right? Now in order to test my flow, what I can do is I can go to another grouping out here, which is about messages. Here are the message boxes, and I'll pull one display message box out here, and I'll type NASDAQ. Let's see the last value. I'll select the variable, which is attribute NASDAQ, and then leave everything as default and save it. Okay, great. Let's see how successful we are so far, right? So we will run. Let me close the Bloomberg web application and let me run. Now as you run it, you can see it's going step by step and completing the job, right? If there is a failure, then we can always go back to the Power Automate and see where exactly it failed. Oh, fantastic. It didn't fail. So you got the last value, which is 15011.35. That was the NASDAQ value. So great. You guys are doing great. So I'll again close it. I don't need this display message box. I can delete it. And my workflow is good for now. Now, whatever we have read, we have to go and push that back into an Excel file. So guys, what I will do is I'll go to this path, and I have my folder out here. What I'll do is I'll try to create one Excel file, and I will type Bloomberg data. And once I have done that, I'll click on this file, and I will create two columns, maybe NASDAQ or S&P, and then the second one as NASDAQ. So I have created two columns out here, and here I will capture the S&P value. Here I'll capture the NASDAQ value. So for now we can just close it. But before we save it and close it, just remember S&P is in column A and NASDAQ is in column B. Okay, let's save it. Let's close it. And we go to Power Automate. Now, as we know, we have to do an Excel related task. So I'll start looking out for a grouping which is pertaining to Excel. And here it is. Now, what do we want to do, right? We want to open up a existing Excel file. We want to copy this data and then we want to save that Excel file. So here are your options. You will select Launch Excel. Okay. Now, the parameter says you want to launch Excel with a blank document, and I would say no, I want to open up an existing document. We can go to the path. We can specify the path where my document is. I'll go to my folder, select the Bloomberg data file, and I'm done. So this will open up my Excel file. Now I want to write to Excel file. So here is your option. Drop write to Excel worksheet here. And it will refer to the same Excel instance which I opened up, and then it is asking value to write, right? So I can select the variable out here. I'll pick up attribute SP on a specified cell, right, which is SP was my column 1 and row 1, and I'll save this. I want to write another value. I'll again drop it. I'll say value to write, which is attribute NASDAQ on column 2, row number 2. Save. I think we have to make correction in our 6th step. I'll double click and mention 2 here. Okay, we made a mistake. Our row 1 had the column header, so our data should go into row number 2. Perfect. So we have done this. Now we will do closing of an Excel file. Now as you close, you would like to save, so I'll just click on save document and save it. That's it. We are done with our first flow, and this is the time to test out our skills. So let's run it. Let's go back to that file. Let's see if there is some data. No, so we just have the headers, so this is good. Now we are ready to run our flow. There we go. It goes, it opens up the Chrome browser, loads the content, and once confirmed, it will read the data for S&P 500 and NASDAQ, and then it will open up your Excel file and write the content into the Excel. There it goes, types the content, close it and saves it. Fantastic. If we go back to the folder and we open up Bloomberg data, wow, impressive, isn't it? That's the power of Power Automate, right? Now this is a simple example, but you think of, you have a lot of values to capture from maybe 1, 2 or more websites on a daily basis, right? Why should you be doing it? There is a system, there is an application which can support you on that. Okay, so this brings us to the end of this video. Hope you liked it. For more such videos, please subscribe to our channel, and you can continuously watch more videos which are coming up on this channel. Thank you very much for your time, guys.